Nael was a young boy with tired eyes and hopeful dreams. Every morning before sunrise, while the town still slept, he stood outside a small grocery shop sweeping dust from the entrance. The shop belonged to his father Kareem, a hard man shaped by years of rivalry, loss, and fear of failure. Nael worked there after school, his thin arms lifting crates heavier than his age, his fingers smelling permanently of spices and soap bars. Across the street stood another shop, bigger, brighter, always crowded. It belonged to Rashid, Kareem's lifelong competitor. Where Kareem was strict and silent, Rashid was friendly and smiling. Customers laughed in Rashid's shop. In Kareem's, they spoke softly. Nael didn't understand business rivalry. To him, Rashid was simply the man who once gave him free sweets when he was sick, and Rashid's son, Ayan, was everything Nael wished he could be: confident, kind, and full of laughter. They met one afternoon at school, bonded over shared notebooks and broken pencils, and soon became close friends. But friendship has enemies when pride rules a household. One evening, Kareem saw Nael laughing with Ayan outside the shops. His face hardened. He dragged Nael inside, slammed the wooden door shut, and spoke with a voice sharp as broken glass. "Do you know who that boy is?" Kareem asked. "My friend," Nael replied softly. "He is the son of the man who wants to destroy us." Kareem snapped. "You will never speak to him again." Nael tried to explain about school, about shared dreams, about how Ayan helped him with studies, but Kareem wouldn't listen. His past spoke louder than his son's present. Years ago, Kareem believed Rashid had stolen customers, undercut prices, and humiliated him publicly. Whether it was truth or jealousy no longer mattered. Hatred had become Kareem's second heartbeat. From that day, Nael lived under strict watch. His phone was checked. His movements were controlled. Any mention of Ayan led to punishment. Still, friendship doesn't die easily. Nael and Ayan found ways: secret notes, stolen glances, brief talks after school. But secrets always come with consequences. One night, Kareem discovered a note in Nael's pocket. He tore it apart, his hands shaking not with anger alone, but fear. Fear that his son might grow beyond him. Fear that success might come through the enemy's door. That night, Kareem made a promise to himself, not aloud. "I will break this friendship," he whispered, "even if it breaks my son." Nael lay awake in the dark, listening to the hum of the ceiling fan, tears soaking his pillow. He didn't know that this was only the beginning, not just of pain, but of a long journey toward truth, strength, and a revenge that would not be loud, but unforgettable. Nael's life slowly became heavier after his father clearly showed his hatred toward the friendship. At the shop, his father's words grew sharper every day. He checked Nael's work again and again, finding faults where there were none. If a customer complained, even for a small thing, Nael was blamed. If sales were low, Nael was blamed. Nael understood one thing clearly now: this was no longer about business. It was about control. Meanwhile, Nael's friendship with Ayan, his friend, grew stronger. They never discussed their father's rivalry directly, but both felt the pressure. Ayan's father also warned him many times. "Stay away from Nael. His father is dangerous. Business enemies don't make good friends." Ayan tried to obey, but friendship is not something you can erase easily. They met secretly, talked at night, and shared dreams. Both wanted a future different from their father's: clean, honest, and peaceful. One evening, a big incident happened. Nael's father accused him of sharing shop secrets with the competitor. The accusation was false, but his father refused to listen. In front of workers and customers, he shouted at Nael and slapped him. That slap broke something inside Nael. For the first time, Nael did not cry. He did not beg. He simply looked at his father and realized something painful. In his eyes, "I am not a son. I am only a weapon or a threat." That night, Nael packed a small bag and left the house quietly. He did not go to Ayan's home. He did not want to create more problems. He went to a small rented room near the market and decided to stand on his own feet. Life outside was hard. Nael worked day and night in another shop. The owner was kind but strict. Nael learned everything: customer dealing, accounting, supply chains, and honesty in business. Slowly, his confidence grew. Months passed. One day, Nael overheard a conversation that changed everything. His father was secretly trying to destroy Ayan's father's business, using unfair methods: fake complaints, bribes, and lies. Nael felt anger but also clarity. This was not just a family issue anymore. This was about right and wrong. Nael made a decision. He would not take revenge with violence or hate. He would take revenge with success, truth, and dignity. He began planning carefully. He collected proofs, learned market rules, and built trust with people his father had once cheated. The boy who once only worked behind a counter was now slowly becoming a man with a purpose. And this time, Nael was no longer afraid. Nael's life changed the day his father threw him out of the shop. For years, the small grocery store had been Nael's world. He had grown up stacking rice sacks, weighing sugar, and greeting customers with tired smiles. It was never easy, but it was honest work. The shop carried his father's pride and his bitterness. Nael had never fully understood why his father hated Mr. Kareem, the owner of the shop across the street. Only later did he learn the truth. Once, long ago, Both men had started businesses together. When success came, ego followed. Words turned sharp. Trust broke. Friendship died. And the rivalry poisoned everything, including Nael's future. The worst part, Nael's closest friend, Ayan, was Mr. Kareem's son. They had grown up together, sharing lunches, dreams, and late-night talks about escaping the narrow streets and building something better. But to Nael's father, Ayan was the enemy's blood. "You will never see that boy again," his father had shouted. "And if you do, don't ever return to this house." Nael had chosen silence, but silence cost him everything. After being forced out, Nael spent nights sleeping on a torn mattress in a storage room behind the shop. Hunger became normal. Humiliation became routine. Yet something inside him hardened not into anger, but into determination. One evening, Ayan found him sitting outside the clothes shop. "You don't deserve this," Ayan said quietly. Nael shook his head. "It's not about deserving. It's about fear. My father is afraid of losing." Ayan surprised him then. "My father wants to help you." Nael laughed bitterly. "Your father? The competitor?" "Yes," Ayan replied. "Because he knows this fight is destroying both families." That night, Nael stepped into the shop he was forbidden to enter. Mr. Kareem was not the monster Nael's father had described. He was calm, thoughtful, broken in ways Nael recognized. "I once loved your father like a brother," Mr. Kareem said, "but pride made us blind." Under Mr. Kareem's guidance, Nael learned real business skills: accounting, suppliers, customer trust, not shortcuts principles. Weeks turned into months. Nael grew stronger, smarter, more confident. Word spread quickly. Customers noticed the difference. Sales improved. Respect followed. And slowly, painfully, Nael's father noticed too. Nael's father stood in his empty shop one evening, watching customers walk past him, straight to his rival's store. The realization crushed him. His son was not being destroyed by the enemy. His son was becoming successful, and that terrified him more than failure. Pride whispered lies into his heart. "They are stealing my son. They are humiliating me. I must stop this." So he planned something unforgivable. One night, false rumors spread through the market. Nael was cheating customers. Nael was stealing money. Nael was betraying trust. The source was hidden, but the intent was clear. Nael collapsed under the weight of shame. The very people who had started to believe in him turned away. When Ayan confronted his father, Mr. Kareem looked directly at Nael. "This is not your battle alone anymore," he said. "Tomorrow, the truth would come out, and it would change everything." Nael stood at the edge of the small market, where his life had quietly changed. The shop shutters were half open, the morning sun spilling gold across wooden counters and dusty shelves. This place, once just a source of daily wages, had become the battlefield where truth, pride, and forgiveness collided. After the painful separation forced by their father's rivalry, Nael had grown stronger in silence. He worked harder, learned the business from the ground up, and gained the trust of customers not through tricks, but through honesty. His former friend Ayan had walked a similar path on the other side of town, both boys shaped by the same unfair war they never chose. The rivalry between their fathers had only worsened over the years. Each tried to destroy the other's reputation, spreading rumors, cutting prices unfairly, and poisoning the community with bitterness. But what neither man noticed was that the town had grown tired of their ego-driven feud. One afternoon, a crisis struck. A large supplier accused both shops of fraud, false allegations fueled by years of gossip and rivalry. The market association announced an inquiry. Both fathers were at risk of losing everything they had built. It was then that Nael made a choice that would define his life. Instead of celebrating his father's competitor's trouble, Nael went to Ayan. For the first time in years, they spoke openly about lost friendship, forced hatred, and the weight of expectations placed on them. Together, they gathered proof, invoices, records, and testimonies that showed the accusations were false and had originated from a third party exploiting their rivalry. On the day of the inquiry, the town hall was full. When Nael stood up to speak, his father tried to stop him, but it was too late. Nael spoke calmly, clearly, and with courage. He defended not only his own father, but also his so-called enemy. Ayan did the same. The room fell silent. The truth came out. The false accuser was exposed. Both shops were cleared. But the real verdict came afterward. Nael's father, seeing his son defend honor over hatred, finally broke down. Years of pride crumbled in his eyes. He realized that his rivalry had nearly destroyed his son's future and happiness. Ayan's father felt the same shame. That day, the feud ended not with revenge, but with truth. The two fathers shook hands, not as competitors, but as men who had lost years to ego. They agreed to fair business, mutual respect, and most importantly freedom for their children to choose their own lives. Nael and Ayan reopened their friendship, stronger than before. They later started a small joint venture run on honesty, cooperation, and the lessons learned from pain.